Hi everyone, Shai here. I hope all of you are doing well. Welcome to another new video. This may shock you, 55 countries around the world still practice the death penalty, but they are dramatically different. From Japan's death row, which drives inmates insane, to Saudi Arabia's death row, which has a dark, evil twist, each country has its own way of carrying out executions. The first country we'll look at is the USA. The USA hands out many death sentences per year, but surprisingly, it's not even in the top 10. Around 20 people are sentenced to death row every year in the US. In many states, the death row is illegal, and some states don't practice it, despite never officially outlawing it. However, 11 states actively carry out death sentences. Inmates receive these sentences for various crimes, most commonly homicide-related offenses, but also for espionage, treason, and extreme cases of narcotics trafficking. The USA uses 5 methods of execution: lethal injection, electric chair, firing squad, gas chamber, and gas asphyxiation. But what actually happens to an inmate on death row in the US? 24 hours before the execution, they are moved from their regular cell to what is cheerfully called the death house. This will be the last time the inmate is outside. They undergo a full body search and are given new clothing. They are then placed in the death watch cell, where they'll spend their final night. Some inmates sleep, while others can't, knowing what's coming. At the 15-hour mark, they're woken up, allowed to shower, and served a regular prison breakfast. At the 14-hour mark, they can see their family and friends one last time and get 45 minutes for final phone calls. At the 12-hour mark, all visits are cut off. The inmate is given lunch and can meet with a priest or imam for a final confession. At the 8-hour mark, they're allowed to watch their last sunset. Then, they get 1 hour to write letters' final goodbyes to loved ones. At the 6-hour mark, they order their last meal. Contrary to popular belief, they can't order anything they want. They must stick to a $30 budget, which isn't much with today's prices. If they're being executed via the electric chair, their head is shaved to prevent their hair from catching fire. They'll then shower one last time and eat their final meal. At the 3-hour mark, witnesses arrive. These are usually relatives of the victim, but sometimes include the inmate's family too. At the 1-hour mark, the inmate is walked to the death chamber, escorted by 5 guards. They are strapped to a chair or bed. At the 12-minute mark, witnesses are brought into the viewing room. The curtains are undrawn. The window is one way, so the inmate never sees who's watching. At the 10-minute mark, the inmate says their last words. If they wish, they may have a final visit from a religious figure. Then, the execution takes place. Currently, around 2,500 people are on death row in the USA. It often takes decades for executions to happen because inmates are entitled to multiple appeals. But it wasn't always like this. The US once executed a 14-year-old boy, George Stinney, who was so small he had to sit on a Bible in the electric chair. Since 2005, inmates must be 18 or older to receive the death sentence. As harsh as the USA's death row sounds, it's nothing compared to Saudi Arabia's. Every year, Saudi Arabia executes over 185 people. People can get the death sentence for crimes like burglary, treason, espionage, and narcotics trafficking. You can even be executed for leaving Islam, cheating on a spouse, being in a same-gender relationship, or for witchcraft. Saudi Arabia uses 3 execution methods: number 1, firing squad; number 2, stoning, where the person is buried up to their head and stoned until death; and number 3, beheading using a scimitar, a large curved sword. Bodies are often put on public display as a warning. Unlike the USA, executions in Saudi Arabia happen quickly. While inmates wait, they're held in Al Hayr prison, known for extreme physical and psychological abuse. Inmates are often kept in isolation and denied contact with their families. Another country with a disturbing death row is Japan. Aside from the USA, Japan is the only democratic country that still enforces the death penalty, with around 5 executions per year. It's reserved for homicide, treason, and crimes against the state, usually involving multiple deaths. In Japan, inmates aren't told when they'll be executed. They're informed only 1-2 hours before, meaning they never know when their last day will be. This psychological torment drives many inmates insane. Families are only informed after the execution. Japanese death row prisons are extremely strict. Inmates must sit in a specific way, look down at the floor at all times, speak only when spoken to, and work over 13 hours per day. But China has even harsher conditions. China executes over 1,000 people per year. Crimes punishable by death include fraud, bombing, flooding, rioting, separatism, political dissent, subversion, corruption, and many others. Even powerful figures aren't safe. In 2022, politician Huang He was sentenced to death for accepting $17 million in bribes. In 2014, billionaire Liu Han was executed. Executions are carried out by firing squad or lethal injection. Inmates are held in extremely harsh prisons, often forced to work 16 hours per day, heads shaved, eyes always on the ground. Then there's Somalia, one of the world's most dangerous countries. It's the only African nation that performs public executions via hanging, firing squad, or stoning. About 13 people are executed each year for crimes such as homicide, treason, espionage, and abandoning the military, but also for leaving Islam, blasphemy, cheating on a spouse, or being in a same-gender relationship. They're usually held in Mandara prison, known for being overcrowded, dirty, and inhumane. But some say death row in Belarus is even worse. It's the only European country that still uses capital punishment, mainly for treason, sabotage, and conspiracy. Inmates are kept in harsh isolation and executed quickly, with an average of 2 executions per year. Indonesia also has a very active death row. In 2005, 9 Australians were arrested for smuggling narcotics. 2 were executed by firing squad in 2015, causing international outrage. Today, Indonesia still executes people for drug trafficking and piracy. Then there's India, where the death penalty applies to homicide, drug crimes, hijacking, espionage, kidnapping, and even human sacrifice. In 2023, India gave out 120 death sentences. Methods include hanging or the firing squad. Indian prisons are infamous for being overcrowded, with over 25 million backlogged cases. Inmates are told their execution date just days in advance. But the most brutal death row may be in North Korea. There, almost anything can earn you a death sentence: watching foreign films, listening to K-pop, visiting foreign websites, or even using international phone lines. In 2022, a 22-year-old man was publicly executed for listening to K-pop. Executions are done by firing squad, hanging, beheading, or even by missile. Inmates are sent to labor camps where they work up to 20 hours a day. If they survive, they're executed. Worse still, their entire family is often imprisoned too. North Korea executes an estimated 150 people per year. Egypt also maintains a death row system, executing around 30 people annually via hanging or firing squad. Inmates face harsh, overcrowded prisons while awaiting their final day. Lastly, there's the United Arab Emirates. It may be a glamorous tourist destination, but behind the scenes, its death row system is extremely harsh. You can be executed for crimes like disposing of nuclear waste or leaving Islam. The method? Firing squad. Which of these death rows do you think is the worst? Let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and check out this video next. I think you'll find it very interesting.